The 10th day of March 2023, it is. Good afternoon. This is the great KBC. Thank you so much indeed for making time. You're just in time for KBC Lunchtime News. Thank you so much. Now we will begin our live coverage with our local news. We will be looking at also business news and also on sports. But to begin us off, we kick off our news from the coastal city of Mombasa. My name is Njue, and Brian Mararo will be our news sign language interpreter for this live newscast. Well, a motorist in Mombasa who was involved in a road accident that fatally injured a traffic police officer has been arraigned in court. He was charged with unlawfully killing the officer.
State that on this 27th day
according to the charge sheet, the deceased was run over and killed by the suspect Osman Jama Abdinur at Buxton in Mombasa on the 27th of February. The driver is said to have engaged the drive gear and accelerated with the police officer hanging from the window of the car and dragged him for almost 200 meters before the officer fell off the car and the rear right wheel of the car ran over him, injuring him on the head. Police said he sustained multiple injuries on other parts of the body and was rushed to Georgetown Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The suspect was arraigned in court before Mombasa Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku and charged with unlawfully killing traffic officer Julius Mairara Marwa. He was also charged with driving a motor vehicle on a public road while fitted with 2 worn-out tires and driving without a driver's license. He pleaded not guilty to all 3 counts and was released on 2 million shillings bond with 1 surety with an alternative cash bail of 1 million shillings. The case, prosecuted by PC Alex Gituma, has been scheduled for mention on 29th March 2023 for pre-trial direction. For Lunchtime News, I'm Alvin Kaunda.
Elsewhere, Kisii County Governor Simba Arati says his administration has saved the county government millions of shillings through vetting of contractors and audit of pending bills. Governor Arati says it is only genuine contractors who will be paid, adding that the county government has saved 1.2 billion that could have been lost, and vowed to legally hold all bogus contractors to account.
These payments have been delayed for more than 10 years. We also came across contractors who have been using government machinery to do the roads without they pay, but they are not given a receipt. And contractors were willing to come forward to make those statements.
Wale contractors wazuri waliofanya kazi, tukipata pesa mara moja tutalipa nini?
Police in Homa Bay County are looking for a 23-year-old man who allegedly defiled and impregnated a 5th grade pupil. Her mother said she was not aware of the rape incident until she noticed her daughter's sudden behavioral change. A series of tests conducted at the county referral hospital established that the girl was 3.5 months pregnant.
Upon questioning, the minor admitted that she was raped twice by the culprit being sought by police. She claimed that the first time she was raped at her grandmother's place and the second time when she had gone to the river to fetch water. According to her mother, seeing her daughter pregnant has caused her untold suffering, noting that her quest for justice has been met by an unwillingness by police to investigate the matter.
Chifu akaniambia ni kuje kwa polisi. Sasa nikikuja kwa polisi nikamweleza, akalifa kwa pima huyu mtoto, nikapeleka hospitali, akalifa kapima huyu mtoto. Kama kapimwa akapatikana akona mimba kweli.
The area assistant chief, Rose Sabot, said the mother of the minor reported the incident at her office and was referred to Homa Bay Town Police Station. However, it is reported that despite the case being reported to the police, nothing has been done so far to ensure justice for the minor.
Now, I referred her to make a report to Homa Bay Police Station so that the police can take up the case and do investigation and arrest the suspect. Now, the police called me and I told them to come so that we can go direct to the suspect's home. They never came on that very day.
Confirming the incident, the County Police Commander Samson Olekine said the case was still under investigation. Sarah Malit, the County Executive Committee member for Youth, condemned the heinous act and called on police to bring to book the culprit, who is at large.
The case was reported, but unfortunately, after her reporting to the police, very little has been done.
Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Lunchtime News.
We hope the miner gets justice. Elsewhere, residents of agriculture-rich area of Maela in Naivasha are up in arms over the poor status of the Maela-Ngondi-Kongoni road. They accuse area leaders of using the road for political capital for over 30 years.
For years, sections of the busy road have remained impassable despite perennial promises made by politicians every election year. Area residents say enough is enough.
Sai tunasikia amesimamisha ati anasema ni national government haitusaidii. Sasa kwa hiyo tunasikia sisi watu wa Maera tunasikia tumefinywa sana, tukiwa na wao sana juu ya hii barabara.
However, rehabilitations of sections of the road by area MCA was stopped on allegations that the road was under the national government. Residents are now calling for the road repairs to continue, adding that they do not care who repairs the road as long as it is in a good condition.
Na hata kama kuna wenye wanaweza kutusaidia, tunasikia inataka kuwekwa rami. Tungefurahia sana iwekwe rami, na tungesema hata sisi tukiwa wakaaji wa Maera eneo ya Naivasha tunaweza furahia, hata sisi tuseme tunafurahiaga haki yetu yenye tunaendaga kupigia kura.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Shakaina Maoga.
Shift gears now to matters politics, where a Narok court has nullified the Jubilee Party's nomination of Alice Kering to the Narok County Assembly. Senior resident magistrate Phyllis Shinyanda ruled that there was no proof that Alice Kering was a member of the Jubilee Party. Elsewhere, Manyata MP Gitonga Mukonji is calling for the adoption of one man, one shilling formula in sharing the national revenue.
Constitutional Commission, I'd like to apply to court.
The Narok court ruled in favor of a petition filed by Josephine Torome, a Narok resident, challenging the nomination of Alice Kering as member of Narok County Assembly. The court found that Kering, who was nominated on gender top-up slot, was not a resident of Narok, but a resident and a voter in Nakuru County, and had been nominated by the ODM party to the Nakuru County Assembly between 2017 and 2022.
Hii ni ushindi watu wa Narok ambao walikuwa wamedhulumiwa wamefurahia, kwa sababu ingekuwa ni heri kama mmoja wao ambaye ni amejiandikisha kama mpiga kura hapa Narok na ni mkaaji wa Narok awe amewakilishe maslahi ya wamama katika bunge ndogo la Narok County Assembly.
Elsewhere, Manyata MP Gitonga Mukonji wants the national revenue to be shared on a one-man, one-shilling basis. Speaking at Kairori grounds, Manyata, during the disbursement of 36 million shillings bursary checks, Mukonji said it was unfair for constituencies with higher population to receive the same allocation of NGCDF as those with smaller population.
Mimi nimesema na nimeanza kutayarisha bill ya kuleta kitu naita one man one shilling. Kama Manyata hakuna haja ya kujulikana tuko na land kiwango gani. Wacha tujulikane sisi ni watu wangapi.
Ishuki Washira, Lunchtime News.
And still on politics, Azimio One Kenya Coalition are currently holding a rally in Migori County, and for that we are now joined by my colleague Achola Simon, who has been keeping a keen eye on that. Achola, good afternoon.
With Mudoma Bay, Igo Gibonde Gudichi, Mane Gimai.
Achola, if you can hear me.
Ben Troy Njue. Indeed, we are in Migori County, and this is a continuation of the Azimio la Umoja one-party coalition public barazas with wananchi across the country. But of course, this is the very first public baraza that we are holding after that declaration yesterday. Of course, the opposition chief Raila Amolo Odinga calling on his supporters for mass action. But of course, the situation has been pretty calm. We traveled yesterday evening from Kisumu, and information that is actually filtering in that the situation is pretty calm here in Migori County, and of course Homa Bay County, which are relatively his support base, have also been very calm, save for, of course, here in Migori County, where he is expected to be addressing the gathering that you are seeing behind me not long from now. What we are told that he is already in town. He's actually proceeded to the home, the residence of the Migori County Senator Edwin Mwok, where they are having a private session there before they actually come here to address their supporters. And of course, Ben Troy Njue, this is a continuation of what they have been agitating for. They are calling on the government to faster find a solution to the high cost of living. And of course, there are other issues with the electoral processes in the country, and a number of other issues that they are actually calling irreducible minimum they want addressed. Remember, their 14-day ultimatum lapsed yesterday, and of course he gave that declaration that he gave yesterday. So we'll be keeping a keen eye just on this particular rally that they will be having here, what will actually be discussed, and we can easily predict what he will be talking about, because he's been actually talking about the need for the government to actually check on the high cost of living, and of course the need for inclusion in terms of the reconfiguration of IEBC, among other issues. Of course, the discussion might change today based on what he actually declared yesterday, but we'll be keeping a keen eye on what will be discussed here, so that then, of course, we can actually bring our viewers and listeners up to speed of what will be discussed. But my colleague can actually just pan, you can actually see that members of the public started gathering here quite early in the morning, and they've actually been standing here just awaiting his arrival. As I said, he's actually already in town, and he proceeded to the residence of Migori County Senator Edwin Mwok, where they're actually having a private session before, of course, they lead other leaders to this particular point. I will also point it out to you, Ben Troy Njue, that we are expecting the leading faces in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition to actually grace this particular occasion. We are talking about Raila Amolo Odinga. We are actually talking about Kalonzo Musyoka. We are talking about Wajakoya Waluchiri, Professor Wajakoya Waluchiri, and of course a host of other leaders, including Raila Odinga's running mate Martha Karua, who are expected to actually grace this occasion. Ben Troy Njue, I take it back to you.
Thank you so much, Achola Simon, live from Migori. And as you have seen, is that people have already started milling around so that they can be addressed by Azimio One Kenya coalition leaders, who are expected any moment from now in regards to what they've called for their supporters to hold mass protests for against the government because of a number of issues, including electoral reforms and also including the high cost of living. Of course, we'll be keeping tabs with what is happening there and a more comprehensive report in our subsequent bulletin. Well, in other news, more than 45 technical and vocational education training institutes drawn from all counties will work on reviewing their current curriculum. The move, they say, has been informed by the demands of local and international job markets. In a 3-day convention organized by the Ministry of Education, Zizi Africa and the Safaricom Foundation at Kenya School of TVET in Nairobi, the institution said the time has come for a paradigm that will incorporate writing and communication skills.
They are already revamping the curriculum for training the instructors, and life skills will come in a very, very big way.
What we train in at technologies, craftsperson, technicians, artisans, and those are the levels of TVET, and serving complementing the engineers from the universities.
Elsewhere, corporate companies have been challenged to be more sensitive to the needs of their staff by implementing policies that entrench diversity, equity, and inclusivity. Old Mutual Group Human Capital Executive East Africa Njue says there is a need to create supportive environment for staff in a bid to boost productivity.
We've also looked at and actually provided appropriate leave for adopting parents, males and females, and particularly for women who have adopted a child, and so giving them a full extent of what would be maternity leave to actually integrate with the new member of their family. So we are looking at all this as a way of ensuring that the women who work in our business are actually well able to integrate their life and their work.
The Deputy Principal Otok Mixed Secondary School in Karachuonyo, Homa Bay County, is nursing injuries following a confrontation between students and villagers. According to the students, the villagers stormed the school and attempted to eject the newly posted principal.
A commotion ensued in the principal's office after armed villagers stormed the premise to remove Principal Jackton Owor Ogaga. Students then mobilized and chased away the villagers. It was during this moment that the deputy principal is said to have been attacked by the irate locals.
Some villagers stormed the compound, about 10 of them uttering obscenities, things that I could not understand. Then a fracas ensued out there, and the students came out of class and ordered them to leave the compound. However, some of them refused to leave, and the students started hurling them with stones and chased them out of the compound.
Students say they had welcomed the new principal but were taken aback by the actions of the villagers.
Utangenigia hapo kwa shule. Results nzuri ndio ninatoka hapa. I am proud of this school and we are not going to tolerate nonsense.
Principal mpya na bado hajakaa. Na villagers wamekuja kutuangamiza. Hatujui wanataka nini.
They accused the villagers of retaining a non-performing principal whom they said was not doing anything positive to increase the school's mean grade in Kenya's Certificate of Secondary School Education. The injured deputy principal was taken to a nearby dispensary for treatment. Arnold Feather for Lunchtime News.
And still on education, parents and teachers in Marafa Ward in Kilifi County have called for an increment in government bursary allocation and scholarships to help keep learners in school. The residents argue that previous allocations were too small to cater for all the needy students in the area. They cited the struggling economy and the long dry spell as the main reasons they were not able to pay school fees for their children. The residents spoke at an event organized by area member of County Assembly, Emmanuel Karisa Baya, who issued scholarship checks worth 5 million shillings from the Ward Scholarship Fund, which is set to benefit 970 needy students of Shujaa, Mekatilili and Weresa secondary schools.
Kusema kweli ningependa kuambia serikali yetu kwamba ile pesa waliotugawia ni kidogo, ikiwezekana waongeze na pia iweze kuja kwa wakati unaostahili, wakati unaofaa.
Vyakula vimekuwa ghali. Imetufanya sisi hata hatuwezi kutafutia mtoto wa shule. Tunapenda kule kusomesha, lakini tunashindwa kabisa.
Kwa hakika katika shule hizi za kiwango chetu za sub-county zina changamoto nyingi. Na changamoto ya kwanza ni ulipaji wa karo. Karo hailipwi, ndio sababu tunapata changamoto za kupata pesa za kuwapa watoto huduma.
Asante sana kwa juhudi zako. Kabisa. Wewe ndio utainua hii. Hakikisha kila mwanafunzi ameomba pesa.
In other news, savings and credit cooperatives, that is SACCOs, will soon be able to clear checks and begin lending to one another under the national payment system in a bid to reduce SACCOs' over-reliance on banks for funding. Speaking to KBC after a financial literacy session at the Broadcasting House, the Hazina SACCO Chief Executive Officer also revealed that the proposed review of the Central Bank of Kenya lending rates would create a better opportunity for members of SACCOs as their lending rates would remain unchanged.
They have assured us that within 6 or so months, we should have this in place. So once we have our own national payment system in place, then it means that as the players in this space, we are going to comfortably issue checks to our members. We are also going to get to clear these checks within good speed. The SACCOs, and I can speak for my SACCO, I know that our rate will remain what it is. It gives an opportunity to the members of the public then to decide where they think they will get best value for their money. But it definitely presents a good opportunity for members of SACCOs to access cheaper loans compared to the banks.
The national government, through the Office of the Meru County Commissioner and non-governmental organizations, are involving men in an initiative to fight gender-based violence in the county. Several public forums are being held to sensitize the residents on the effects of gender-based violence and sexual abuse.
According to Cynthia Kinanu, the Chief Executive Officer of Inua Mama Njue, one of the non-governmental organizations engaged in the initiative, cases of gender-based violence and sexual abuse are on the rise in Meru County.
It is not only women who have rights, but also men have their own rights. So we look at them as ambassadors of agents of change and ambassadors of goodwill.
Meru County Assistant Commissioner Fatuma Abdi said one of the key sectors they are engaging with is the border riders and enlisting their support to disseminate the message against the gender-based violence to the rest of men.
Triple threat here in Meru County. I don't have the specific figures, but the number is quite high, especially on the issues of sexual and gender-based violence.
The initiative has won the support of the border operators in Meru Town, who also call on authorities to also empower the boy child in order to curb cases of gender-based violence and sexual abuse.
Working with a border is a genuine income-generating activity that feeds millions of families. So, unfortunately, when some of these crimes are committed, they are associated with the border.
Nasra Aden for Lunchtime News.
Now, President William Ruto has directed the military, to work with the Ministry of Education to rebuild all destroyed schools in bandit-prone areas to allow children to go back to school. Speaking when he presided over the commissioning parade for the new graduate and general service officer cadets at the Military Academy in Lanet, Nakuru, the president said the government will not relent in its military operation to get rid of cattle rustlers and other criminal activity in every part of the country. The head of state said the operation to track down and eliminate bandits will continue until every one of them is brought to book and all illegal guns surrendered willingly or by force. President Ruto has in the meantime commended the Kenya Defence Forces and Security Services for their steadfast commitment to the security of the country and the safety of all citizens.
Made our commitment to end cattle rustling, banditry, and other criminal activities in every part of Kenya. I am absolutely confident that we can rely on the KDF and our security system to secure the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Kenya as mandated in the Constitution without any difficulty whatsoever. We will be decisive in stamping out banditry and neutralizing every bandit who denies or who defies the government and attempts any illegal or criminal acts.
At about 25 minutes past the hour, we are due for a fast break, but when we come back, we still have business and sports.
To get the pit as your skis are tuned, dial *811 *397 #.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships. The pit is not your destination. Get ready to rise.
To get the pit, dial *811 *397 #. *811 *397 #.
Kuna hizi kampuni zenye zinajua mali niko, kitu nimekula breko, kitu ninasema sahi, kitu nitakula next week on Thursday, pesa niko nazo kwa account, siblings wangu, the list is endless. Na mnajuaje hii information? Kwani mnani stock?
Lakini nikuulize, kabla ya kupress allow, ulijiuliza hii information inatumiwa kwa njia gani? Kabla ya kuallow, hakikisha umesoma terms and conditions.
Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na ofisi ya Data Protection Commissioner.
It seems that my youngest daughter has disappeared. It's Amparo. Are you all right, Amparo?
Yes.
Did they touch you? Did they do anything?
No, I'm fine, Ruben. They didn't do anything to me. And it's all thanks to you. Those guys almost killed you, Ruben. They almost killed you. They almost killed you.
You've been a lot of fun, Oligario. But my life in this house is getting to be so annoying. So I guess I'll have to speed things up a little bit.
And who is Fabiola?
I'm Fabiola.
Then come with me because the patient also asked for you.
Ruben, let's just stay here tonight and rest. Miss, do you have 2 rooms available for us?
I only have 1 room that's available now.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping me company. Moving on, women are being encouraged to embrace technology to address the growing digital gender divide. Industry players note that this will promote diversification and inclusion to help eliminate systematic barriers that inhibit their participation in the digital space.
A report by the UN indicates that 37% of women do not use the internet. The report notes that if women are unable to access the internet and do not feel safe online, they are unable to develop the necessary digital skills to engage in digital spaces, which diminishes their opportunities to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics-related fields. Stakeholders urged women to carve out niches in the tech space that will set them apart.
So we want to empower women, and that is why the theme is very important today, that they understand why they need to get to the digital space, because that is where they can do even the small products they are selling, even the awareness that we are creating. I think the digital space is where we need to be, all of us.
Furthermore, they called on women to leverage on the opportunities made available in the digital space for brand building and career advancement.
What we are encouraging is that women should learn these skills, girls should embrace, so that even we can come with cheaper products in our community. Like we can have innovate our own phones. We can also be able to create our own websites and be able to sell the product.
They also called on the government to raise awareness on human rights by calling for positive gender inclusion and recognizing the advancement of digital tech, especially in service provision.
We're also encouraging our county government. Let us have a website that any woman can access or any app a woman can use to ensure that there is that public participation meeting that is ongoing and they can actually make a decision or they can participate from their homes.
Njue for Lunchtime News.
Our soil testing is now becoming a critical component in the agricultural sector in Kenya. Experts say low soil testing in the country is affecting food production. BioVision Executive Director David Amudavi says soil technology is key in reducing the cost of agriculture production, as farmers will minimize the use of synthetic fertilizer and other chemicals in food production. Amudavi is urging Parliament to consider increasing budgetary allocation for soil testing in the 2024-2025 budget.
Experts say acidity levels in most farms are way higher than the recommended levels because of continuous use of synthetic fertilizers. Agronomists recommend that farmers should conduct soil testing twice every year. However, the cost of the test and the turnaround time continue to hinder many farmers from embracing testing. It costs an average of 4,500 shillings to do soil testing on an acre of land. The government plans to spend 15 billion shillings to help farmers acquire low-price fertilizer. However, experts in the agriculture sector say the fertilizer expenditure can be reduced through proper soil management by ensuring farmers apply minimal chemicals on their crops.
In adopting practices that will ensure our soils are not only fertile, but the soils are stable, and the soils can give a crop. Even when farmers experience very marginal amount of rainfall, the soils are still strong and healthy enough to give you a crop.
Players say there is need for a policy shift to ensure soil is treated as a key subsector in the budget formulation to support soil testing and other extension services.
That can sustain some yield of a crop, even when there is a challenge in the amount of rain for that.
Farmers have been encouraged to practice smart and organic farming to mitigate against climate change and also increase their earnings from exports, as organically grown foods attract better prices on the international market.
People who are conscious about what they consume, organic food is we say it fetches a premium price. So it translates more into more income for the farmer.
Desmond Druba reporting for Lunchtime News.
Now, a craze has emerged among young people who are gathering in urban centers, especially on Sundays, to film and share content of their work to audiences across the world. This is via popular social media platform. Here's Andrew Okero with the details.
On Sunday mornings, the streets' urban centers such as Nairobi come alive with the sound of music. The pavements turn into one big filming location for dozens of content creators. Alexander Njue, an upcoming rapper, is filming a video for his collaboration with another rapper in the street.
On a lot of art, a lot of something to speak about, man. Tukona a lot, man. So tutaka to expose city yetu, to expose na art yetu, feelings zetu.
Most of the content they film here is likely to find its way to social media platforms such as Twitter, YouTube, Facebook or TikTok. Although many of these platforms have been in use for long, social media users say things took a different turn at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic.
You can see that most people came up with ideas and they wanted to let it spread out. All the people can do content, they can come up with ideas, but when it comes to shooting, there's always this specific skill that someone needs to see. The quality from the camera, you just can't compare it with their phone.
While some people took to filming and taking photos using their smartphones, others decided to seek a more polished touch. That's where the professionals come in. The county government of Nairobi, which once halted filming, has now allowed these young content creators to film at no cost.
Tuna represent ile kitu tuko nayo. Si lazima tutuende. Tuache crime mazee, turime sasa.
Higher viewers can lead to popularity and in some instances chances to earn money from their creations.
The social media is a mainstream. So if anybody is making an advert, they want to make an advert to put on their Instagram, on their TikTok, something that will interact with their targeted clients.
Through their creations, they feel seen, heard and acknowledged from their street in Kenya to the world. Andrew Kero for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, financial illiteracy has been cited as a major barrier to the uptake of fintech solutions by women, which widens the financial inclusion gap. According to Topista Muga, chairperson African Women in Fintech and Payments, there is need for target sensitization to bridge the information gap and consequently bolster women's financial empowerment.
According to the World Bank, 58% of all African small-medium enterprises are owned by women. Although access to finance is a challenge to all MSMEs, women-owned businesses are particularly disadvantaged.
Fintechs, banks need to work with organizations who are on the ground in order to ensure they're building the right product for the female who lives in the village.
Now, we still have the gap. We don't decline it. We still have cultural nuances. We still have social nuances. We still have political nuances. But we are on a mission as fintechs to actually make this work.
Players in the financial sector are banking on fintech to bridge these barriers owing to their versatility. Thus, the need for sensitization.
So financial literacy is one of the big.
Across border, Uganda's insurance industry regulator says the sector experienced a 20% growth in uptake in the year 2022. However, the growth was not good enough to deepen penetration, which remains below 1%. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across our African continent.
Uganda's Insurance Regulatory Authority says deliberate steps that seek to bring services closer to the people, digitizing products and innovating products that are relevant to the people, continue to show up the sector amid a number of disruptions worsened by a slowdown in economic growth. Products for low-income earners on the market for people has been put in place. Due to these micro-insurances, the number of policies sold increased by about 50% last year. The insurance regulatory says more people are buying products such as agricultural insurance, which have traditionally registered low uptake. Elsewhere, Zimbabwe, which is also Africa's largest tobacco producer, has opened its tobacco selling to eager international buyers. The size of the tobacco crop increased despite higher fertilizer prices blamed on the war in Ukraine. Zimbabwe expects to harvest 254,000 tons of the golden leaf this season, up from 235,000 tons last year. The Southern African country now wants to make its tobacco industry more lucrative by manufacturing more cigarettes at home and limiting foreign funding of farmers. Currently, China funds the bulk of production and buys the lion's share of Zimbabwe's tobacco. Finally, Nigeria's population projected to hit 400 million people by the year 2050. The Food and Agricultural Organization has called for a decisive action by the Nigerian government to ensure sustainable and inclusive food system transformation. FAO says food self-sufficiency could be attained not only through production technologies, but also entrenching sustainable and inclusive food system in the structure, governance and administration. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Tunette Chola.
Further afield, oil fell for a fourth session today, heading for its biggest weekly loss in 5 weeks on worries about prospect of steep interest rates hikes in the United States and slowing economic growth, investors are closely monitoring export cuts from Russia, which decided to trim oil output by 500,000 barrels per day in March. More details next in our International Business Roundup.
Oil prices slid about 1% to a two-week low on Thursday on increased worries the U.S. Federal Reserve may go too far with its interest rate hikes to control inflation, which could cause a recession and reduce future oil demand. Brent dipped 0.5% to $81.20 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was down 0.8% at $75.14. Expectation of further rate hikes in the world's largest economy and in Europe have clouded the global outlook and driven both crude benchmarks down more than 5%. So far this week, their worst drop since early February. Elsewhere, shares in Silicon Valley Bank, a key lender to technology startups, plummeted on Thursday as investors moved to withdraw their deposits. The slide came after the bank announced a $1.7 billion share sale to help shore up its finances. Shares in SVB saw their biggest one-day drop on record as they'd plunged by more than 60% and lost another 20% in after-hours trade. The firm launched the share sale after losing around $1.8 billion when it offloaded a portfolio of assets, mainly U.S. treasuries. Shares in banks have also fallen around the world, with the four largest U.S. banks, including JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, losing more than $50 billion in market value. Today, shares in Asian banks were also trading lower. Finally, China is set to establish a national financial regulatory administration to oversee the financial services industry. The reform, approved this morning, targets the country's most important financial regulators. The new administration absorbs China's Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission to consolidate the supervision of financial service sectors, apart from securities, into a body directly under China's State Council. The overall plan is for China's financial system to become safer, its structure as clear, and management more efficient, with the hope of reducing systemic financial risk in March. Terry Njenga, Lunchtime News.
And in sports, we begin some good news for Red Devils fans, where Manchester United have an upper hand in the Europa League last 16 tie after they thrashed Spanish Real Betis 4-1 last night in the first leg at Old Trafford. In another match, Arsenal were held to a 2-2 draw by Sporting Lisbon of Portugal.
Juanmi. It's Perez. It's in!
In Portugal, Arsenal needed an own goal from Japanese midfielder Hidemasa Morita to force a 2-2 draw with Sporting Lisbon.
Granit Xhaka deflected and an own goal! Arsenal are level, it's an own goal!
In another match, Stephen El Shaarawy and Marash Kumbula were on the score sheet as Italian giants Roma beat Real Sociedad 2-0.
Tammy Abraham, it's a lovely turn, El Shaarawy! Roma in front, 13 minutes played. In his intervention, swept in by Dybala, and they've got their second goal. It's Kumbula who heads in.
Meanwhile, Argentine winger Angel Di Maria scored the only goal as Juventus beat Freiburg 1-0.
And Di Maria, dispatched with authority.
That's all we had for KBC Lunchtime News this Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget there's a number of news articles that we are following keenly on, and of course you can keep it KBC and check out also our social media platform for this news plus much more. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Njue, and Brian Muralu has been our sign language interpreter for these live newscasts. Do have yourself a blessed weekend.
Dar es Salaam is my home, my city. I've been everywhere, seen everything. In Kiswahili, we say karibu. I bid you welcome. I'm a seasoned photographer and content creator. This is what I do on a daily basis. Come along and I'll show you my 5 top spots here to document daily life. So right behind me is Tanzanite Bridge. It recently got opened here in Dar, and it basically shows where Dar es Salaam is going. Really modern, but also creating spaces whereby people can exercise in the morning. So this place, I generally come and then capture some photos, and it's a perfect place to actually give you the first tip for today, which is composition. You can use the art of leading lines to capture a beautiful shot of this bridge. As you can see, there's a lot of lines leading to the top point over there of the Tanzanite Bridge, which is the Uhuru Torch, and the perfect place to actually capture a photo. The thing about this city is beautiful, and when you start seeing these old architecture, it's just amazing, man. Like, I would actually like to stop. Another tip that I can share with you is sometimes the contrast in a story is really beautiful, because now you have this old building and right behind there the contrast of what is now starting to change the entire city. So a good way to capture that. That's a wrap. Let's do it. Let's go to the next scene. The journey of growing up in Dar has just been an amazing one, man. I started exploring at a really early age, remembering playing with other kids in the streets, making those cars with whatever you can find. And that was kind of like an upbringing whereby I think it allowed me to hone in on my creativity. So I was doing a business degree, but I was teaching myself how to be a photographer. So right now, actually,